The Guttmacher Institute likes to do these comparative studies on abortion rates. So they compare abortion rates in all these different countries. And what they found in their latest study is that abortion rates are actually higher in countries where they have illegal abortion, right? So where it's more restrictive, you will find more and more women having abortion.
But wait a minute. I thought that if we just made abortion illegal, we would have less of them. Turns out it's the opposite, huh?
It's the exact opposite, and I'll explain why. Usually in countries where abortion is illegal, contraception is also illegal, right? And since women do not have access to forms of birth control, they will get pregnant, and as a result, if they do not want to carry that pregnancy full term, they will perform the abortion themselves or find a way to obtain the abortion drug illegally. They'll do whatever it takes to basically rid themselves of that fetus.
So now I want to explain, number one, in all these countries, birth control is not necessarily illegal. Sometimes it's harder to obtain, sometimes it's frowned upon and hence less used, etc. But obviously that's a huge factor here. And so I think rightfully people can then turn around and say, well, look, we do have access to birth control here, so that doesn't necessarily apply to us. But, you know, it's a cultural thing. And what it does is, it's part of establishing, what is and is not acceptable, and it eventually winds up having many different effects.
Absolutely. Look, I was talking to our recent hire, Irina, and she's from Eastern Europe, right? Mm-hmm. So what's really interesting is when you really delve into the details of the study, you'll see that abortion rates are very high in Eastern Europe. However, they've broadened both their contraception laws and their abortion laws after the end of communism. So that's interesting. Why is the abortion rate still so high? She was telling me the reason for that is because there's no education on contraception. It's not necessarily looked down upon, but in Romania, for instance, health insurance doesn't cover contraception. So you have to pay for it out of pocket, and it's extremely expensive. So there are a lot of cultural things that do come into play.
And so the point I want to make about the culture overall is a culture of suppression where if don't do things, don't do the abortion, we're going to tell you what to do with your body, we're going to make decisions for you, don't do contraception, don't educate yourself, just listen to the church or to your mosque or whatever it might be, does not lead to positive results. Even if you care about, oh my God, I want to minimize abortions, you won't minimize them if you do a culture of suppression. If you put out this idea that some religious leader or religious text knows better, as an example, than the average person, well, then you get more abortions. And so you don't even get the result that you want.
You can't plan a woman's future based on your beliefs. It's just not going to happen, regardless of what the abortion laws are in a country. And Cenk mentioned this in the beginning of the study, or in the beginning of the story. A woman is going to make that decision regardless of the law. So let me give you the exact numbers because I think that it's fascinating. If you look at Western Europe, there are 12 abortions per 1,000 women. In Eastern Europe, 43 abortions per 1,000 women. And if you look at North America, 19 abortions per 1,000 women. Now, in Latin America and Africa, you see more restrictive laws when it comes to abortion and contraception. And because of that, 95 to 97% of the abortions are deemed unsafe. They do not have the minimal medical standards in order to perform the abortion. So as a result, they're having these unsafe abortions that threaten their lives.
One of the unsafe abortions that they used as an example in the story was women who crack open glass bottles and do the abortions themselves. Look, but that's part of the reason that abortion should be legal, because if they don't want that kid, not in all of the cases, but unfortunately in a lot of cases, they're going to get that kid out one way or another. And of course, a lot of women take illegal drugs to kind of flush the fetus or whatever it might be in whatever stage that it's in out of their body. And so that, of course, endangers their health and their life significantly. Make it legal and safe. And people will say, oh, well, they won't do that here in the U.S. We're a civilized country.
Wrong again.
No, but we're a civilized country because abortion is legal. If it was illegal, would they go back to doing crazy things to get it out of their body anyway? Of course they would.
Those cases are already happening right now. You know, there was a story of a woman in Kansas who got pregnant. She didn't have access or easy access to an abortion because of how strict the abortion laws are in her part of, in her area. And as a result, she ordered the abortion pill online. She got prosecuted for that because it's deemed an illegal abortion. So these kinds of things aren't just happening in other countries. They're happening in our country because the right wing is launching this war against women.